Want me to clap
So,
as well?
yeah, you can clap. Go for it.
Oh.
Wow. Boom, boom. You did it. Hi, everybody. We're
Hello.
live. It's good to be live. I'm just looking. I'm seeing we are live. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Uh,
Beauty.
Alex, how you doing today?
I am doing well. It's been a crazy hectic week, actually.
Is that a blanket
Yeah.
statement or is that true?
No, definitely true. We had the finale week, 9 weeks of Northern Shield
Oh,
Academy.
nice.
Yeah, and we finished it up with three finale streams, one for each of the games.
Cool.
Rocket League, Valorant, and Fortnite. So it was
Very
fun
nice.
times. And we gave away so many prizes. We
What?
we
Okay,
gave
so
away
tell me about some of those prizes.
oh an a full blown PC with like the
What?
bet yeah, like with a 3060 in it, which is probably like worth more than like anything right now. And
It's worth more than me.
yeah, we gave away like multiple gaming chairs. We gave away probably like 1,000 or
Wow.
so dollars in gift cards. We gave away like SSDs like they were candy.
Bro, what?
Um
That's amazing.
So just so much stuff. It was
Yeah.
so much fun, and the students were amazing. We had a lot of students that were engaged and just joining the community and helping each other, and it was really cool to see. So
That's so cool.
yeah,
That's so cool.
um,
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's and that's over now.
yes,
Okay.
we just wrapped our ninth week, and yeah, it was what a ride it was. We had like 8 weeks of course content that people can go through. Actually, you can check it out on YouTube, Northern Shield Academy.
Hmm.
Search that up, and you can see all the curriculum there. You can see the VODs and everything like that. So it was super fun. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Alex, what are we going to be talking about on Best of Three today? Just so the people
Oh
have a
man.
little bit of a piece of knowledge before we get started.
Well, do we want to start the podcast
That's what I'm
before we?
saying. Do you want to
Yeah,
tell them
yeah,
about
yeah.
anything, a
Let's.
sneak peek before we actually start the podcast?
Oh, a little sneak peek.
Yeah.
Most definitely. So, today, obviously, the pandemic has been raging on for, going on 2 years now. And I was curious. I wanted to take a look. It seems like gaming is doing really well during the pandemic. How is esports doing?
Ah,
Um, yeah. So, I picked a couple of the big leagues, and we looked at some of the numbers behind it to see how it's faring, and we came up with some interesting results. Maybe not interesting. I don't know. We'll see.
cool. Cool, cool. All right. Well, yeah. Let's get into it then. Here we go. This is best of three. This is our like what 11th episode in the best of two home series.
Yes,
Oh, it's
yes,
our
it
home
is.
series.
It's the home series.
It's the home series. I love that. Okay, cool. Episode 11 of the home series. Here we are. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Best of Three, a podcast made in esports. I am Mike. Alex, how you doing?
Doing fantastic. Feeling good. Feeling good.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking esports. We are getting into the nitty gritty. This is episode 11, we have found, of our at home series of episodes, best of two, might some people say. Except that doesn't make sense because it's always a best of three. Uh,
Exactly.
anyway, we're talking today about something that has affected almost everybody in the world in some way, shape, or form. Uh, Obviously, the pandemic has been raging on. Thankfully, now we're starting to kind of see a light at the end of the tunnel. But there's still a little bit of a ways to go. Meanwhile, esports is trying their hardest to get back on their feet after a year of cancellations, after a year of uh, problematic tournaments that may or may not have run or were modified in some way. And so now they're trying to get back at it. So we thought that it would be a pretty good idea to take a look at where esports was just before we reached what happened. Then we'll go through what did happen, and then let's look at where they're going in the future. So, first of all, Alex, do you have anything to add to that?
No, just yeah, like I was super curious about this as well. I really wanted to know. It just seems like gaming is doing well, so
Yeah,
shouldn't esports? And maybe not all esports are created equal. So
for real.
maybe some interesting, surprising results, maybe not, but we'll see. Yeah.
I mean, we put out a question on Twitter. Alex, you were the one who put that out. So can you tell us what you asked the people on Twitter?
Ooh. If you want me to be real, I did not put that out, so I got to take a quick look see.
Got it. Got it.
Um,
No problem.
we
I've
do
got
have
that
a
for you.
social media man. Yeah.
I've got that for you. So the question that was asked on Twitter was, how has the pandemic changed the esports landscape? Has there been a drop in players and viewers on certain titles? Let us know how you think. And one of the people who had answered, by the name of the One Cella on Twitter, says game sales went through the roof when the first lockdown hit, for sure. Now that's one side of it, and I think that's closer to what Alex is talking about, where uh, the amount of people who are playing some of these games that we're talking about, a lot of
Oh,
people
they've
found themselves with a lot more time to play them.
yeah, like the playership of a lot of games have increased dramatically.
Yeah.
But now, is that necessarily in the competitive titles, or is that just sort of in the more casual games? So,
So to start things off, I want to kick off this conversation by saying that, you know what, we have seen one other thing uh, have like kind of a meteoric rise during this pandemic, and that was TikTok. The ability for people to go completely viral, almost seemingly out of nowhere, not having been known for anything else, just kind of making the space their own. I think that in 2021, when we get back into the esports space, that there are going to be all of these new people who come out of the woodwork, who've been practicing, who have been playing with their teams, who've been playing with other people, who have just become monsters at this game because they were given the time to become.
and you bringing up that point, I just want to quick little Dota tidbit here.
Uh-oh.
I was watching the first event of the Dota Pro circuit,
Mm-hmm.
the Singapore Major, and there were a lot of known names there. There were big names. You had EG, you had Liquid, you had IG, you had all of these big teams that you know and have known for years.
Yeah.
But competing right there with them and really overtaking some of the more known teams is these no-name teams with players that you may not have heard of.
Right.
And what I think was happening there is a lot of the lesser known teams and players were really putting in that work. They were coming up with new, different strategies, different ideas that have not been done before. And what you saw in a lot of the more established teams is because the 2020 season was canceled, they actually were using strats and sort of had a mentality of that they were carrying in 2020, in 2019. And
Okay.
all of these new players who had been trying these weird sort of different type tactics and bringing a different mentality to the game, they actually surprised a lot of those established teams, and
Okay.
sometimes they couldn't keep up. So it was interesting to see that the established teams were maybe getting a little bit comfortable in the pandemic, and the others who were really grinding to take that spot away from them.
For sure. And I think we're going to see that a lot this year with different organizations or different teams coming in, having been veterans, having been people who were top of their game before, kind of coming in and expecting the same kind of treatment. However, there are so many people who are, who have been just working at it for the past year and a half. So I'm interested to see who those kind of names are. Actually, there's one of them in one of the esports we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about 3 different competitive scenes. We're going to be talking about CSGO. We're going to be talking about League of Legends, and we're going to be talking about Call of Duty. So let's get things kicked off with CSGO. Now, CSGO admittedly is the side of esports that both Alex and I are like least versed in. I would say. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm not really a shooter type player. My aim is horrible, as some of you may have seen. I come from MOBAs, but yeah.
But you're learning all these like cool tactics with like the mouse like dragging it over, lifting it up, dragging it over, lifting it up kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I feel super behind though. There's a
Which
lot.
might be me as a boomer talking, being like, hey, you know, you can do all these super nifty things, just moving your mouse and picking it up. That no one would ever do that. Um,
Yeah, and just yeah, there's all sorts of things in there that maybe we won't get into right now, but yeah, I've been picking a lot of stuff up, so it's been fun.
yeah, no, I'm also not very much of the shooter variety. The Valorants and CS:GOs and Overwatches and stuff, they haven't spoken to me as much, but the competitive scene still blows my mind because when a good performance is made, when a good production is made for CSGO, oh boy, it looks good. Like in 2019, we had a Cologne 2019 happened with a total prize pool of 300K USD, in which Team Liquid came out on top, winning $125,000. Um,
Big money.
Big money. From there, we had IEM Katowice 2019, which, as Alex will point out, had some crazy viewership.
They did. They did. You were looking at a peak viewership of like over 1.2 million
Why?
people. They were averaging almost 400,000 viewers. And you had like 52 million hours watched. So
What?
these are very large numbers, and obviously, they seem very large, but when really you got to compare them to some other things to know really what that means.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
So, I mean, from there, 2020 saw a little bit of a dip. Pretty hard to collect metrics when you're just not having your tournaments at all. We
definitely.
had we had Katowice for the Intel Extreme Masters, the IEM. But then right after that, after the major brunt of the pandemic hit, Jönköping was canceled, Melbourne was canceled, Cologne was canceled, Rio was canceled. Basically, the rest of CS:GO that year was canceled up until the Intel Extreme Masters Global Challenge. That was basically the only other tournament that happened within that space that year.
Yeah, and if you're talking about how did the pandemic affect CS:GO, well, it hit them hard.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, definitely hard hit. CS:GO was an very established esport with a lot of fans who would make the trip out to these events. They are really built around a LAN experience. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Well, and that's kind of the problem with a lot of what we're going to be talking about today. Is that so many of these esports were built around the in-person experience. It was all the stage feel. It was all of the activations and integrations that you had with your merch booths and your sponsorships and this, that, and the other. The sponsors actually getting to do some cool stuff at these events.
I mean, you had crazy stuff like, wrapped cars and like,
Yeah,
like, oh, we're sponsored by Mercedes. Here's the Mercedes-Benz car and like all of this cool stuff, right? That we don't really get to see anymore.
didn't really give people the chance to flex as much as as much as had been happening. For the global challenge, if anybody's curious, that was very small for a global challenge. It was very small. We had eight teams competing in group stages. There was a group A and B. The top two from each of those groups got to move on to the playoffs. At which point it ended up being Team Liquid versus Astralis. Astralis coming through with the win for $200,000. Team Liquid coming out with $100,000, which still super pretty penny. The total prize pool for that tournament was $500K.
Yeah, yep. It's for sure like it's not as big as it could have been.
Right.
And you're limiting the teams that are able to play, maybe regionally and maybe in numbers, just trying to prevent the spread of this disease, right? So
Right.
of this virus. Um,
100%.
yeah, but we going into 2021, if you look at IEM Katowice in 2021 and compare it with the 2019 numbers, it's just there's almost there's a 50% drop in peak viewership, right? It went from
Wow.
1.2 million to 600,000. So like that's a chop right in half, unfortunately. And I think a lot of not being on for 2020 really not only stunted their growth, but actually set them back. And now they're in a place where maybe they have to build that audience up again.
Definitely. Definitely. But
Yeah.
then you talk about comeback stories, right? You've got the first tournament in the ESL category in 2021 for CSGO was the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice again. So you brought that back for early February. That ran from February 16th to the 28th.
Yeah.
That had a
Just happened.
$1 million prize pool, that one right there.
So that's what I'm saying. But like even the prize pool, and you have half the viewership.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So it's a little unfortunate, right? You
You kind
still
of
had
have
a
to
million
take
dollar
that
prize pool,
though.
and oh
You
man.
have to tank that a bit. You know, like you want to make your game, your sports better for the next year. That like it will attract people again. I think after the fact, it brought in more viewers than actually during, because people just weren't used to seeing these tournaments again.
Hmm.
Now, again, this was a purely online tournament. However, they are looking to do offline tournaments later on in the year. Right now, summer 2021 is still scheduled to be online. Cologne is scheduled to be offline, so that's going to be an
Looking
interesting time.
forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Another
obviously,
$1 million prize pool too.
are they going to have live audience there?
That's to be determined, I guess. It depends on how
Oh.
well we stay at home.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to the first event that has a full live audience and is like
Yes.
fully back to normal. When is that? Where is that? I want to be there.
Well, right. That's the thing. I mean, now we're starting to see more events in America coming through now that more people are being vaccinated and more you know locations are opening back up. The world is slowly getting back to normal. It's hard to see that here where we are because we're
Mm.
still we're pretty slow on that, on getting everybody back up. Um, but eventually that, like, I feel like the rest of North America and certainly the rest of the world will start to see that as well.
For sure. And then, I mean, potentially some of the decline I want to say is, like I mentioned before, the CSGO is a very established title, and with a
Yep.
year off from sort of competitive, a lot of the big players just switched over to a game that came out right during the pandemic, Valorant, right? And the Valorant scene is looking pretty healthy right now. It's looking good. I think they're just Valorant's been out for about a year now,
Yeah.
and they're just building out the competitive scene. But I decided not to include that in here because they were not around pre-pandemic, so not
Right.
really a
Right.
fair shake there. So
Well, yeah,
yeah.
and I mean it's certainly a thing that we can talk about another time as well, as just the things that have come up during this that we're excited to see how they'll migrate out of the space. Because once Valorant first came out, well, not everybody, lots of people went over to it. Lots of people at least tried it out for the next couple of weeks, months, days. Um, so I'm curious to see how they're going to integrate that into an esports scene. They already
Mhm.
have had Valorant tournaments, but I'm curious how they're going to do main stage kind of things. Are they going to be taking from the CS:GO handbook? Are they going to be taking from, uh, the Overwatch handbook? What is that going to look like from Riot's development team?
Yeah, right now, I mean, they have the VCT, so that's the Challengers Tour, um, and it looks like it's not going closed, closed league. It
Mm-hmm.
looks like they're just sort of putting up these events, and you can qualify for these events and get into them. So it looks a little bit closer to the CS:GO, in my opinion.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
we'll be keeping an eye on that.
Speaking of
Next,
Riot.
speaking of Riot, yeah, let's take a little bit of a tour through the LCS. Uh,
All right.
because again, 2020 it hit hard. It hit pretty dang hard. It was a negative year for the LCS as well. So much so that they had midway through kind of stepped back and was like, okay, you know what? Next year is going to be better. Next year's going to be better. They projected a very early, profitable 2021 season around like September.
Okay.
What they had found was it was more difficult to run an LCS production from home because Riot and the LCS in general has always been more about the production, more about the experience
Definitely.
than I would say most esports. It
I,
was,
I
yeah,
believe they were the first to even use AR in their live
definitely.
productions, right? So they AR is augmented reality.
Yeah.
So from the stream, it looks like there's dragons flying around, that there's all of these characters, and you have like KDA coming and dancing on stage, all of this fun stuff, right? And very, very difficult to do from home. I don't know how you do
Oh,
that. So
absolutely. Yeah. No, very, very difficult to do. They were struggling with getting their players like on the same kind of routine as well. Like performance in production is one thing, but performance in playership, or the performance from their players is a whole different thing. Like coaches were trying to get them on a better gym routine. Like with gyms closed, what are your players actually going to do?
right.
They resorted to at times delivering food and having their players do like morning exercises in order to keep mentally physically aware, because it's hard to just be sitting at home all day and playing on the computer, you know what I mean?
Definitely. You need that stretch break, you need that exercise, and I think it's something that you might not know you need, because it's very easy to sit there for a long amount of hours and continue to game without knowing that it's not good for you. So,
Yeah, no, for sure, absolutely. And I mean, again, like as I mentioned before, the live events and activations are key, super important to growing the industry, you know what I mean?
yeah, so
So
2020 wasn't a good year for League of Legends.
no,
2021, what does that look like?
2021 is going to be a completely different story.
Oh,
2021 is more or less like they took the idea of like, okay, so things were down this year. Next year, let's just kind of change the face of esports a little bit and have, all the things that everybody's been asking for anyway. So what they've done, they've enhanced the amateur ecosystem, which is something that we have been clamoring for years and years.
okay. And how did they do that?
Yeah, they've made it a bit more of an inclusive situation where they allow both LCS teams and third party TOs and brand sponsors and unaffiliated amateur teams inside the like inside an LCS org. They allow anybody to kind of participate and learn the space, just kind of trial by fire. All of
Ooh.
these people are practicing anyway. They're playing the game like no tomorrow, so you might as well just bring them in with everybody else.
Yeah, because that was always sort of my beef with League of Legends, how it was such a closed ecosystem. So
Mm-hmm.
that's beautiful to see.
Opening it up, exactly. Um, so I'm excited again for this like cohort of new talent that we're going to be seeing through League of Legends and through the LCS. And actually, to that point, the LCS. Well, okay, so let's go back a little bit. It started this year with a three. Is that how it started this year? Yeah, started with a 3 week season kickoff tournament, which was like kind of a way to decide who the team to beat would be.
Oh, because there was some time off, and
Yeah,
okay, so like to try to seed you a little bit. Okay, I feel that.
exactly. And what I want to do actually, I want to find out who won that 2021 the kickoff tournament. I will find that. Yeah, that's called the lock-in, the LCS 2021 lock-in,
Yeah,
which was
people
actually Team
love
Liquid.
Team Liquid. Let's
Let's go
go.
Team Liquid was
Right on my hat.
killing it still. Yeah. Um, They had a condensed spring split because, of course, we're at home. We're still not in the actual place, so they're trying to make things like more action, more games. They increase the amount of games that you're seeing per day. Condense their seasons. Playoffs and finals, what they were is now a mid-season showdown, and the winner of that would represent NA 2021's first global competition, which of course Cloud9 was the winner of. Then after that, later on this year, we're going to go into a 9-week summer split, followed by an LCS championship, which would give the second LCS champion title, first being from the mid-season showdown.
Getting back into the swing of things.
Exactly.
Like there's going to be events, and I'm excited.
Top 3 teams get to qualify for Worlds.
Yes. I mean, I know I'm very much in a couple games, but when there are big tournaments on, I feel the hype. I like to watch them. I like to watch the finals of whatever esport, and not being a player of those games, like that's the stuff that gets you excited, right?
Definitely. And I mean, let's talk for the 17,000th time about how we went to TI that one time. That was I want to say the final tournament to end all final tournaments. That was
hands down, like probably like the greatest day of my life, and I wish so bad to do it again.
The OG LGD fight of the century.
Right. That was the beginning of a legacy, and we're going off on a tangent, but
they're both, there's so many things that people can learn from the international. Money aside, not the most recent, but TI, what was the one we went to? TI8?
TI8.
TI8. Yes. That was the way to do all of it. Just looking in retrospect, the brand integrations, the augmented reality that they had there,
the interactive. Okay, so everyone got a bracelet
the
that
audience
lights
interaction.
Up.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh,
and when there was big moves that came out, all of the bracelets lit up, and you could see sort of the colors and everything, and it was almost like you were in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's really incredible to see, and when everyone cheers, it changes colors and like all of this. So like that's something that you really can't know and feel unless you were there.
It was nuts. You pass like a sensor when you go through the front area with your bracelet, and that activates the bracelet. And then it's like they can control everybody's bracelet from that audience. It was some like real Black Mirror stuff, but it was really cool. Cool to see where the technology's at, and it's there. And this is something that places like the LCS is, or like something that the things that the ESL can take from and iterate on, create better experiences for your people once they come back into the arena.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, it's I don't know. Let's throw it to a break. My mind is melting. And we got some more great games, more great leagues to talk about after we come back.
All right, and we're on a break. Hey, Alex.
Yes.
I want to throw it over to Bolt Plus real quick. Bolt Plus, you can download that for free on Google Play or the App Store. That's actually an amazing app.
Yeah, you can watch news. You can watch. Red Bull has a channel on there. We're on there. And they've also recently signed an agreement with Blast, so you'll be able to catch all your favorite CSGO matches on there from Blast as well.
Which is pretty sick.
Incredible.
That's pretty great. I have recently taken a very strong liking to the LCS. I've been looking into the LCS quite a bit. I've been watching a lot of the games. Yo, it's hype.
I'm glad, because I don't know, like it seems like we're on a little bit of a trend of all esports is down right now.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But I mean, funny enough, the LCS is one thing, but when you say that, it brings me over to Hearthstone. And it just makes me feel like Hearthstone is the one esport that was basically unfazed by all of this, because people were basically
Ooh.
doing this already. People were competing all around the world from their own home, just with their camera on them. Like the infrastructure was already set up for
Well,
people to be
also because
competing from
it's
home.
turn-based and it doesn't like lag matters less, and that makes so much sense.
Yeah, it's one of, if not the, I would say, biggest turn-based esports that are out there. I'm trying to think of any others
Sure.
that don't necessarily need a strong internet connection. Like, I don't know, chess? Like,
No, I don't know. Like, yeah, but chess, it's so time-based too, right? As soon as you hit the thing, your time starts and it starts ticking, and you if you get some lag there, it might not sync up properly. I noticed that in Underlords, which is a
sure.
real annoying thing.
Oh, hey, that's another good one. Yeah, is things like TFT.
Right. But I noticed that if you have a little bit of connection issue, it might say you have like 3 seconds left in the round, and then it'll
Okay,
end
but
your round. So yeah, but like generally not so bad. Like,
generally it's not a
yeah,
bad thing.
work
Yeah.
quickly, you got like 20 or 30 seconds or whatever to do your thing.
Wow.
So
Yeah, but I mean, again, like Hearthstone, just it's been going strong this whole time. They brought out battlegrounds during this during the pandemic. They brought out they've completely overhauled their system where now it's easier for somebody to be onboarded onto the game. They have like this full like
oh
apprenticeship
sweet.
series, like a 40 level work your way up kind of thing if you want to, or if you want to just skip to the main like ranked series, you can totally do that too. They have core sets now, so instead of having to like keep up with every set, they have like a core which is
Oh,
made up of a bunch of past sets and a bunch of basic cards.
oh, that's
Oh,
nice.
it's
That's
genius.
nice.
It's genius. It brought me back into the game. I don't play it as much as I watch it, but oh boy, it's good.
Yeah,
It's a
I
good
mean,
game.
I gotta say, like, I played a bit of Magic, and card games are tough to get into if you don't have some help. So,
Right. Or if you take a break. If
oh
you
yeah.
are the type of person to play like maybe a week straight of a game and then wait a couple months and then go back to that game, card games are so hard to do because oh
Yeah.
boy, they're gonna have like 2, 3 extra sets out by the time you actually come back to the game, and then you have to learn this whole other ecosystem. It's tough.
Continuous thing.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so we'll be getting into some Call of Duty. We got Overwatch and Evo. So yeah, let's get into those things.
Cool, cool. Let's do it. Here we go.
Yep.
And we're back. Welcome back to Best of Three. Folks, we're talking about esports and their progression through the pandemic, both where they were before and where they are right now. We've talked about the LCS. We've talked about CSGO and ESL. Now let's move on to the Call of Duty World League. Alex, take it away.
Mm, man, okay, so the Call of Duty World League. When I was comparing Call of Duty, it actually changed names. The league changed completely, right? In
Right.
2019 and previous, you had the Call of Duty World League, and then in 2020, it went to the Call of Duty League, and with the franchise model and everything. So
Yeah.
you're really looking at two different esports almost. And you have a new COD game every year as well. So I really feel like it's a little bit tough to compare. Um,
It's really, really hard. Like it's
yeah.
hard enough with say in my background of Pokemon, where game changes every few years, and yet the format of the game stays the same. The format of competitive stays the same. Uh, you have to learn this whole new set of mechanics, and it's a big learning curve for a lot of people. And I'm sure CDL is
Definitely.
no exception.
Yeah, so with Call of Duty in 2019, we were at Black Ops, and really they had some strong viewership for the time, and I think it was growing. They had over 750,000 views in
Wow.
2019. Like that's sort of their peak month. So 750,000, and they had a monthly player count of 7.5 million. So 7.5 million players playing their game at that time, and they looked like they were growing. They were doing really well previous to 2019. From 2017, 2018, 2019, they grew year over year.
Right.
They were doing really well. So in 2020, when it went to the Call of Duty League, I was like, hey, we should see some even greater viewership in this year, right? But with the launch in a pandemic year,
Yeah.
I guess it made it really tough. They had a whole plan built around home series, tournaments and majors that were happening in each of the team's home cities, right?
Right.
And it just wasn't possible during the pandemic. I think with that change, a lot of people are. Yeah, I've read some things that are calling Call of Duty so far, the Call of Duty League, kind of a flop, which is
Ah.
really unfortunate to see. But I think this is something that I saw in Overwatch as well. Is Blizzard, Activision, EA, Activision, they moved over to YouTube, right? They were
Mm.
on Twitch previous to 2019, and then they moved over to Twitch in 2020. And I think that could have really hurt their numbers, in terms of live viewership and everything like that. But I feel like Call of Duty League is doing very, very well, for a year of being on YouTube. So you look at their subscribers, and they have like 1.3 million subscribers. So they built that up over a year, which is pretty good. They have 225 million video views on their channel. So that was from 2020 to 2021 now, right? And when you're looking at numbers like that, it's really easy to see why you would want to see it on YouTube. Twitch, obviously, you have the live viewership, and you get that. Oh, like we had 500,000 concurrent viewers and all of
Yeah.
this. Maybe less so on YouTube, but you do get the plays and the views afterwards, right? So that builds.
Definitely.
Yeah.
YouTube, and I don't know. I go back and forth between where the best place for organizations to go is, um, because I feel like there is a lot of hype on Twitch. It's very easy for things to be shared, because that's just kind of the ecosystem that Twitch has created for itself. It's like, if you like this stream, you've got to go and tweet it out. You've got to go and talk to people about the fact that it's happening right now, and
Exactly.
people migrate over there. Versus YouTube, uh, YouTube streams aren't shared as much at all.
Right.
It's more of I want to say a selfish ecosystem, but it's more of like you have found this YouTube video, you have found this YouTube stream, and now you are having that experience. You are not so much sharing it with other people, bringing them in on the experience as well. It's more of a talking point later on, being like, hey, oh, I watched this super hype tournament on YouTube.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But what I do love about YouTube, and the reason why we are on YouTube,
Yes.
is I love the fact that you can go back and watch the VODs, right? Something
Yes.
with Twitch that you will not see is people going into past broadcasts and just watching them. No one does that. Who does that on
Yeah.
Twitch?
Very small percentage of people will do that. Over time, yes, people will go and watch it. Maybe you'll get a good like 100,000 views on a Twitch VOD. However, compare that to YouTube, we're seeing like millions upon millions of views on these tournaments, and they get shared around on the platform itself. Twitch doesn't do a very good job at sharing around its past broadcasts because it's too busy sharing around its live broadcasts.
Exactly.
So if you want your content to live for longer, you're going to want to put that on YouTube. If you want your content to live in the moment, then you're going to want to put that on Twitch. I think that's the short way of saying that.
Yeah, and yeah, so I think a lot of people may be looking at the Call of Duty League and being like, "Hey, it's not what the Call of Duty World League was like. It's
Mm.
it's not as good." Um, and yes, I think part of this is due to the fact that you have some older players who are now kind of aging out or retiring out of, you know, the really golden age of Call of Duty,
Yeah.
right? So really, they're going to need to get some fresh blood in there, some fresh star power, I think it is, because there are a ton of players still. Going back to playership, you saw 7.5 million an average monthly count of 7.5 million people. Sorry, in
Yeah.
2020 that went up to about 11 million average monthly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was because people had a lot of time on their hands. In 2021, it did go down a bit to 9.5 million average monthly players. But you still see growth from 2019. There are more
Yes.
people playing. And yeah, maybe not as much as 2020, but people are getting back into the swing of their regular routines in that in 2021. So I don't think this is a huge, huge dip. And I think if you, yeah, look at the longevity of the content that they're producing on YouTube now, and they can bank on those views later, I don't think they're in a bad place.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think that the CDL is I guess poised to really take off this year. What's going to matter is how they handle their in-person tournaments, because again, as we
Definitely.
transition out of the online only scenarios and go into the place where people are actually going on stage and doing all of these things, CDL hasn't had that experience doing that as the CDL yet. They've been able to
Exactly.
do that as the Call of Duty World League, but different organizations. It wasn't just a title swap. It was a
It was
organizational overhaul.
they changed the format, I mean, they changed literally everything about it. So
Yeah.
I would consider them the same things. But very closely tied to the Call of Duty League is the Overwatch League, right?
Yeah.
Owned by the same parent co, and really following the same format, the same structure of the league and everything. And it's, I think Call of Duty is doing much, much better than the Overwatch League, and
Hmm.
you'll see why here. But if you compare sort of the grand finals of the Overwatch League in 2019 to 2020, you saw a massive, massive dip in
Oof.
numbers across the board, really. So for the finals of Overwatch League in 2019, you saw almost 320,000 peak viewers.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like 76 million hours watched.
Wow.
And then you compare that to the finals in 2020, and you got like 183,000 peak viewers. That is about half of the peak viewership of 2019. And
Wow.
in hours watched, it went from 76 million to about 25 million
Which is like a
hours
third.
watched.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Uh-huh.
I think that Overwatch League got really hammered here. And they also made that switch to YouTube in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
so that could be a large part of it. But I'll get into some of their YouTube stats in a little bit. But also, what they did in 2020 was they split the leagues. So they actually created regions. So there was an East and a West region,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw a massive, massive dip in the Western region's viewership because most of the viewership was Asian,
Hmm.
Korean, really. So now you have all these Korean and Asian fans watching just sort of the East region and their games, and you see this massive dip in the sort of the West side. Um, on a positive note for the Overwatch League, though, the Korean broadcast saw like an 11 and a half point jump in their
Oh,
viewership. So,
they got it.
exactly. And what this really points out is the viewership is really, really concentrated in the East, in Korea in particular.
Hmm.
Yeah, so splitting up sort of the regions there did do a number on their viewership.
But at
And
least if this does see a sharp decline here, at least it does still have a home
on
somewhere else,
YouTube.
and in Korea just in general.
Ah,
But there was another Blizzard game that kind of went the exact same way.
ooh, what are we talking about?
That would be StarCraft.
Oh,
Let's
yes.
draw that exact same parallel, right? Like StarCraft had a much longer shelf life in Korea than it did outside of it. Um,
Most
Even at
definitely.
its peak, like StarCraft was on TV, it was on Korean TV, it was on like most people in Korea at least knew of what StarCraft was, if not, actually played it. So
Definitely.
curious if we're going to
And
see that same kind of migration.
well, and I think that's great for Korea, the Korean ecosystem, but as a whole, like the Overwatch League is lagging behind even the Call of Duty League, and it is actually a year older of a
Mm.
league. And they both made that jump to YouTube at the same time. And with the YouTube numbers on the Overwatch League, they have 661,000 subscribers, and you're comparing that to 1.33 million subscribers on
Whoa.
Call of Duty League, and they both made the jump at the same time. That's about half the subscribership. I mean, that's some telling stuff right there. But what I think Blizzard is doing is really focusing on the content side of the Call of Duty League.
Mm-hmm.
Call of Duty League, the channel on YouTube produced about they had 8,600 they have 8,600 uploads, and you're comparing
Wow.
that to what 3,000 uploads on the Overwatch League's channel.
Oh,
So that's probably why you're going to see less subscribers there. I'm not sure why they're focusing more on the Call of Duty side, but
right.
YouTube is lagging behind on the Overwatch League side a little bit. And I wish that they put a little bit more love there so that they can really reap the benefits of those replay views.
I think that's the thing that a lot of these esports are forgetting is just the replayability of all of their tournaments, all of
Yeah.
their matches. Is just that like people are watching and rewatching these tournaments for years to come. And not only can that be an income source for them, but that can also be a major advertising point for them. They make their own commercials when they make their tournaments. Their tournaments
Right.
advertise themselves through the gameplay, through the players, through the hype, through all of the production. Uh, how many? I'm bringing it back to Dota again. How many times have people watched and rewatched? It's a disaster, you know. Like,
Oh man. Yeah, some classic moments in Dota, right? And
yeah. And
it's
it's not that those moments don't happen everywhere else. Those kind of moments happen in all kinds of esports. It's just that if you don't put yourself in the position to have those be shared and have those be again watched and rewatched, then they're just going to fade away from the moment that they happened.
well, and that's why I think initially it might look like a stupid move to YouTube and really cut down your live views. But again, I'm hoping that they can really bank and grow sort of this archive and this replayability and all of this.
Certainly.
Um, yeah, like Overwatch 2 is coming out, and I think that might be a problem for Overwatch as well. Maybe some people are waiting for Overwatch 2 and they're already on to Overwatch 2 when it's not even here yet.
Right. Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
like
You don't want people checked out of Overwatch just waiting for Overwatch too. Um, yeah, because you definitely don't want to be signed up for a team that you're on contract for like a year, and then the game comes out mid-year, and it's like, but I'm still on contract for this old game. I need to learn this new one while also playing this old one. I don't want to have to do that. Uh, might as well do something else. And hey, then Valorant comes out, and it's like, hey, you can come and join us. We're new and shiny, and people are like, great, I'm on my way.
I think that was a huge hit for Overwatch as well,
Yeah.
because Valorant is really a mix of CS:GO and Overwatch. So you're gonna have players from both of those games jump over to this one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and yeah, maybe we can go over the Valorant numbers in a later episode,
Riot's
but
coming to eat everyone's lunch.
it
They're
seems
just doing
to
that.
be
Yeah.
that yeah, Riot is really faring the best out of who we've all of the organizers that we've talked about so far.
Definitely.
Um,
And then real quick, the last one that of course we need to mention because it just holds such a near and dear place in our hearts is of course Evo and just the fighting game community in general. Big differences between, I think those were the people who got hit the hardest, and my heart and my love go out to all the people in the fighting game community who, you know, have been respecting the pandemic enough to you know, take their health and safety first, while also still maintaining some semblance of interest in the game. Good on you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we're looking at Evo, and honestly in 2019 Evo was massive.
Yeah.
You know, it was at the height, and I thought it was just going to continue to grow and grow year over year, but you know, it was a rough 2020 for them. But in 2019 they had 9,000 live participants.
Wow.
That's 9,000 players just playing the game. That's not even
The
attendance.
games.
That's
Yeah.
not even so. Pretty ridiculous stuff. They had a peak viewership of 233,000 viewers, and they had about 30,000 average viewers. Um, so if you sort of compare this to the larger esports, of course, the FGC is more grassroots. They weren't putting up the kind of numbers that you would see from CSGO or
No.
League of Legends,
Yeah.
obviously, and there was less money involved as well. But they were doing incredibly for the FGC. They had, you know, 129 hours of airtime. Like they were really putting out a lot of content in 2019. And I think one thing to note is that Smash Bros. Ultimate they had about 3,500 entrants, and this
Wow.
was absolutely nuts. That was okay. So in 2018, Dragon Ball Fighters
Mm-hmm.
had yeah, had about 1,000 entrants,
Yeah.
and you saw 3,500 in Smash Brothers
Three
the next year.
times that. Wow.
Yeah, three times. So you had three times the amount of players in the top game. They were on their way.
Yeah. Yeah.
2020.
And then 2020. Evo was canceled. Uh, the CEO of is it Evo was, yeah,
Yes.
the CEO of Evo was replaced. Tony Queller replaced by, or sorry, Joey Queller
Joe.
replaced by
Yeah.
Tony. Joey was replaced by Tony. You know, it
Yeah. So
happens.
there was obviously some
Tony Cannon.
huge scandals on that end.
Yes.
And unfortunately he was replaced, right? But it was too late when they already replaced him, and like Capcom, Bandai Namco, NetherRealm, they all pulled out,
Yeah.
and 2020 was canceled. Absolutely brutal year for Evo in 2020, because they really, unlike other tournaments, they only have that sort of one time a year where they hold their tournament. So they really bank on that, and that was really tough for them.
So we have stats. What are the stats for?
Oh man. So they did have an online version,
Mm,
without some of the main publishers involved. It's Yeah, so the LAN was canceled. Sorry, they did have an online. It was very small comparatively. So
yeah.
233,000 peak viewers in 2019. In 2020, they had about 39,000.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough. And again, to really hit home the viewership numbers there, 2019's 233,000 compared to say even Overwatch, which one of the ones that we've said was a little you know, on the lesser side. Overwatch had in 2019 318,000, so they even had more than Evo at that point. So it's really a tight knit community of people over in the fighting game community. Uh, Again, wonderful place to be in. So many of the people just know each other and hang out and chat. Uh, Really cool place to be. But yeah, 2020 peak viewership went down to just under 39K. Average viewers on what was, Evo Online 2020. 13,000 average viewers, 485,000 hours watched, which, oh man, all of the other things that we've been talking about today have been reaching the multi-millions. So not even hitting a million, half a million is
You're
it's
talking
rough.
world caliber type events. This is a world caliber event series,
Yeah.
and those numbers unfortunately were just quite low.
A lot of that had to do with the airtime though.
Yes. And they only had 37 hours sort of aired in 2020 as opposed to 129 hours in 2019, right?
Yeah.
So they knew it themselves. They had publishers pull out and they just didn't have as much content to put out there, so
Right. Right.
suffered a bit.
So this year's going to be a bit of an interesting beast, right? Like it's going to be interesting how Sony handles it. Obviously, this year Evo was acquired by Sony. Uh, not exactly sure what that means for all of the publishers, if they're going to be coming back, if they're going to be, participating in this again, or if Evo is going to evolve entirely into something that doesn't necessarily leverage those people.
Well, big news on that end. Evo was acquired by Sony, right?
Yeah.
So you have the backing and the help of Sony to really, bring back those publishers and make sure that the event is at the caliber and the level that it should be at.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that. And Sony has a tight relationship with the fighting game community. Um, Although they are a massive corporation, they still know how to cater to that grassroots side, and I think this is a partnership that can work very well after sort of a black eye in 2020.
Yes. Yes. And oh boy, what a blow that was to them. Uh, I have a lot of faith that it's going to turn around and bring a lot of people back. Um, but I there's gonna have to be some kind of like audible uh, uh like vote of change for Evo now that Sony's in. Sony can't really afford to stay quiet about Evo. Um,
Definitely not. Yeah.
not as they get closer to actually having their tournament.
So,
So
well, if you want to support Evo, you can watch them in August, right? They're back. They'll be back. So,
that's right.
to get the fighting game community back up again and to support, yeah, check them out then. So Mike, what did you learn today? Like, what were the results sort of shocking to you? Were they not?
Well, I mean, it was almost a given that watch time was going to go down in 2020. It's I'm hopeful for this year from all the stuff that I've been listening to and all the stuff that I've been hearing and seeing. I think that there's going to be a big shift in the way that esports is done, both in terms of keeping safe and healthy and code of conduct and whatnot, because that was also a big problem in 2019 that was being addressed at the time. It's just that it I don't want to say that it got overshadowed by the pandemic, but it definitely didn't. It didn't help. So I think we're about to see a major culture shift in esports. I'm
Mhm.
excited to see where it goes because I think this is something that's needed to happen for a long time. Both the code of conduct from 2019 and before, as well as the ways of keeping players, safe and healthy from the events of 2020 into 2021.
Right.
Yeah, that's my takeaway from all this. What about you?
Um, I expected there to be competition from all the other pieces of content that you could possibly consume on anywhere on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't expect it to hit esports so hard
Mm.
because I know a lot of streamers saw massive growth, and casual games playership for those were massive. Um, and I was hoping that there was sort of a league in here that I wasn't keeping a close eye on that was maybe performing better than I thought. But it yeah, I was hoping to be surprised and I wasn't. it is a little bit on par. Yeah, I thought the decline would be less than it was.
Yes. Yes, the decline was a lot sharper than I think most people gave it credit for. People going into 2021 hoping to see some big esports, on the one hand should be excited because now they're able to do that, but on the other hand, they might not know that their lack of attendance in the year before might have actually hurt the scene quite a bit. So,
Definitely. Yeah, and the other thing I picked up, I mean, I thought that I may be, overstressing the live aspect of esports for myself, like just how much I enjoy the live aspect. I thought that I put a very high weight on that,
yeah.
maybe as compared to others. And looking through this, maybe not. Maybe live events is esports and online digital is just really as seemingly sort of hand in hand that it goes. Maybe it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe live events are really what esports players, gamers need to get excited and get out of the house because their daily is sitting on a computer. And they don't want to do more of the same thing, maybe, or for longer periods of time, right?
For sure. For
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Like uh, at its core, traditional sports is about getting out and playing somewhere else, playing a game somewhere else with other people on a team. Same kind of thing in esports is at the end of the day, whether you're going up on the main stage or you're not going up on the main stage, you're still, at times going out and competing in these in-person events with other people cheering you on, or you're cheering on other people, what have you. You're playing with your team, you're playing in a gaming house or something like that. You're enjoying your time outside of the confines of just your room. Um,
yeah.
some people that's a good thing, but for team morale, I think in person is always best. I'm
And
excited
then
to get back to that.
really the last thing is, I think hype and morale, sort of, let's call it hype.
Yep.
Hype and FOMO is really, I want to say, less relevant in a digital world. You can always go back and watch it or whatever it is, but if I miss DreamHack this year, I didn't go. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to see all my friends there. I didn't get to pick up some cool merch or whatever. I didn't get to see these tournaments, and it's gone. I
Yeah.
didn't get to experience it. So I
It.
think,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like without all of those people sort of pressuring the FOMO on you, sort of the hype, it's not the same. I
No.
don't feel the hype as much.
No.
Yeah.
That's something that I think is has been a struggle for a lot of people, even outside of esports. Is just the FOMO aspect. Um, there's a healthy amount of what we as our generation call FOMO is actually just like excitement about the workplace or excitement about competition with your friends. It's the idea that like I'm going to have fun, I'm going to have moments if I go out and go to in-person work, or I go to the field to play some soccer, or I go to the gaming house to go and practice with my team. It's the idea that like being outside of the house is made more interesting because of the fact that you're with other people. Again, it's something that businesses have struggled with, especially when more and more people are working from home. It's harder to get that workplace environment, that water cooler talk. Hard to get people behind video conferences without it seeming like they're talking at you, or they're trying to necessarily drive home a point. Although there might be a point to be had, the bigger aspect is just the human connection.
The
And it's
human
hard to have a
connection.
human connection between two people behind two screens.
Hard lessons learned in esports. Human connection is actually important.
Yes, exactly. All right. And with that, that is going to be the end of this episode of Best of Three. As the take home that I would like people to have here is that things are looking up. Things are changing for the better. People are coming back into this space that weren't there before. There are going to be new people that you've never seen before who are going to tear it up this year, next year, years to come. So keep an eye out for those people, because I know I will.
Fun.
Yeah. Alex, where can people find you?
You can find me every week here on Wednesdays at the Made in Esports channel. Or you can find me on Twitter, Crispy Kim with a K.
There you go. You can also find me here every Wednesday on the Made in Esports channel. You can always find me as well at Still Just Mike on Twitter and Instagram. Folks, I want to thank you so much for listening, and we will see you in the next episode of Best of 3. Bye-bye, everybody. And again, I want to give everybody a great big thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And go and check out.
Thank you guys so much. Yeah.
Go and check us out on Bull Plus. We're on TV, folks. We're there. That's
on
where
the
we
small screen.
On
Let's
the
go.
small screen.